Hello and welcome to yet another edition of The Tube. I'm Danny Swibel. We have a lot to go tonight, so let's do this. Facebook Israel gears up to monitor calls for violence and terrorism. Facebook prepares to test a new video feed designed to beat YouTube. The crowdfunding hit promising smooth shaves get axed from Kickstarter. Pitchfork, the leading destination for indie music, is bought by Condé Nast. And a modular smartwatch is now a real thing, plus so much more, so don't go away. Some say the rise of terror attacks in Israel is part of the new, quote, social media war. That might be an exaggeration, but increasing havoc on both sides of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict these past few weeks has definitely been fueled by tools like Facebook and Twitter. Some of the attackers were very active on Facebook, writing explicitly of their intentions to hurt civilians. Approximately 1/3 of Palestinian society in Jerusalem and the West Bank is active on social media. Now, Facebook Israel announced they are recruiting staff responsible to check reported posts in order to deal with messages that are calling for violence. In the meantime, Israeli police are scanning pages and users from the east side of Jerusalem in order to spy on any suspects. Is Facebook becoming a new battleground? To answer this and other questions, I am now joined in studio by Yaron Ten Brink, editor-in-chief of The Tube. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
So there's been a lot of debates about how, the balance between privacy and security. How is this new kind of a monitoring problematic? Can you tell us?
Well, Facebook Israel, at least, is doing a very, very bad job monitoring Facebook posts on a daily basis in normal times. Of course, in war times, it's even worse because the volume of posts is larger and the violence inside them is much more extreme. So if you go into Facebook these past few days, you'd see like really terrible videos of people dying, people getting stabbed, people bleeding. You'd see posts of people calling for violence on both sides, which are extremely extreme. And all this hate is really bubbling and festering on Facebook. And because the fact that Facebook is so central to at least in Israel, it's very central stage of public discussion. This is drawing a lot of attention.
So do you know if the Israeli government is doing enough to monitor social media, and how are they collaborating with Facebook?
Well, we know that yesterday Prime Minister Netanyahu met with the heads of Facebook Israel to tighten cooperation between them, but we also know that Israel was one of the U.S. partners in the whole NSA story. We know that surveillance in Israel is as bad as it is in the States, which means that Israeli police forces and army forces have access to everything we publicly post, but yeah. I would assume also to emails and private communications. As for your first questions, when the question is between privacy and security here in Israel, that's not even a question. I mean, privacy goes out of the window, and security is all that matters.
It's definitely a more intense security situation here in Israel and the Middle East than it is in the U.S. But can Facebook do more, perhaps? Should they do more? And yeah, what is the fine line between them going overboard and infringing?
I mean, it's a very tough question, because you don't want Facebook to start being this body of censorship. The whole idea of Facebook is that it's an open platform where everyone can say his mind, speak his mind. But the reality is that Facebook is censoring quite a lot. They have very strict guidelines. But the whole mechanism could be way better, because now Facebook would delete posts if many people complain, if the complaints are checked and found to be of some merit. Now, what is meritful and what isn't is basically a decision that is very hard for one person or even a bunch of people to take. This takes expertise, which I'm not sure that Facebook has or is even willing to develop, because we're talking millions of posts. If you have to monitor all of that, you have basically to build a company as big as Facebook just to monitor Facebook. Facebook is not willing to do it, and you see many cases of, you know, injustice on Facebook where people, like we had a case just last week, a guy wrote a very peaceful post calling for both sides to stop the violence and calling especially to his fellow Jewish Israelis to embrace the idea of peace. And a lot of right-wing supporters got mad and reported him, and he was thrown out of Facebook for 3 days for writing a peaceful message. So the tools that Facebook gives the users can be abused and are abused on a daily basis, and I think perhaps Facebook needs to rethink this strategy.
And you think that we would see a backlash in Israel if Facebook was intensifying its monitoring of people? Because I know in the U.S. people would definitely be up in arms. Would people here definitely be as active in their antagonism to something?
Yeah, so as long as it's for what they call security reasons, people would be very happy to cooperate. People would be extremely happy if terrorists, for example, from the Palestinian side, Palestinians who are Israeli, like the Palestinians in East Jerusalem, would be caught beforehand just because they wrote something on Facebook which ignited some alarm, that people would applaud that. But if Facebook starts erasing accounts for speech, even if it's violent speech, even if it's racist speech, I think there would be a serious backlash. And although, people are really hostages here, Facebook hostages, because Facebook indeed is so central to the public discussion, there is no other option. People don't have somewhere else to go. They need to be on Facebook, and you can see that people who get deleted from Facebook or thrown away for a few days come back with a different account because they have to be there, they have to speak their mind. That's
right. Okay, I got a tricky question for you. Do you have any predictions of when we're talking about this story maybe a year from now, how do you see things playing out?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's dangerous to predict anything in the Middle East, but I think we will see relationships between Israeli government and Facebook Israel tightening even more, cooperation tightening even more, and perhaps, Palestinians noticing that and deciding they need to use a different platform, maybe Twitter, because Facebook is too pro-Israeli, especially Facebook Israel, of course. Oh
boy, it's a grim reality about your own brain. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
and
Danny.
We appreciate it. And bad news for Apple. The tech empire from Cupertino could be facing up to $862 million in damage after a U.S. jury found the company used technology owned by the University of Wisconsin, without permission, mainly in chips found in many of its iPhones and iPads. The jury in Madison, Wisconsin also said the patent, which improves processor efficiency, was valid. The trial will now move on to determine how much Apple owes in damages. According to a recent ruling by U.S. District Judge William Conley, who is presiding over the case, as I said before, Apple could be liable for up to $862 million in damage. Here's a fine example of what Apple does with those chips in the latest iPad Pro model. Hope you like a taste of your own medicine, Apple.
To amplify this, to put it on a much larger scale, we designed iPad Pro. It begins with a 12.9-inch Retina display on an iPad that remains remarkably thin and light. With 78% more screen area, iPad Pro not only transforms your viewing experience, it enables new ways of creating and sharing. To give multi-touch a greater level of precision, we completely re-engineered the touch subsystem, increasing the sensitivity of the sensors and doubling the touch refresh rate. It's actually the most advanced display we've made, and with 5.6 million pixels, it has the highest resolution of any iOS device.
And Facebook, come for spying on your ex-girlfriend and stay for the videos. Facebook is announcing a number of new video tests, the biggest of which is a brand new feed dedicated to Facebook videos. On Facebook's iPhone app, it'll appear as the middle of the 5 tabs on the bottom of the screen, replacing Messenger. Though it'll be vertical like the traditional news feed, you'll be scrolling past carousels of videos shared by your friends and the pages you follow. Facebook says it's only testing with video feeds with a small number of people now, so it may be a while before it widely rolls out. The video feed is seen as part of the company's ongoing effort to dethrone YouTube as a leading force for online videos. Good luck with that, Zuckerberg. And moving on, last week we talked about on the Tube about the Laser Razor, a crowdfunding campaign for a razor blade which, its US creators claim, removes facial hair with a laser. It was a huge hit, backed for $4 million, but then things turned around. On Tuesday, the project was surprisingly kicked off of Kickstarter. Backers received an email from Kickstarter saying the Laser Razor was, quote, in violation of our rules requiring working prototypes of physical products that are offered as rewards. But don't you worry, you people who are enthusiastic about shaving with a laser, like me, of course, are relaxed with their cash. The project reappeared on Indiegogo yesterday. Here's a reminder of the pitch for the maybe existing, maybe not, Laser Razor.
This is why we created the Scarp Razor. Whilst working on lasers for cosmetic and medical purposes, I wondered, could I put this technology to better use? I wanted something that would benefit every single one of us. Shaving was the obvious answer.
The industry has been looking for a laser shaver for home use, but discovering a viable technology has eluded everyone until now. Wavelengths of light have been discovered that cut through dark hair, but not light or grey hair.
We wanted a laser that could cut all hair. Many prototypes were built, and after years of experimentation, we had found exactly what we were looking for.
We identified molecules in the hair that absorb a particular wavelength. These are called chromophores. These chromophores are the only continuous structure in the hair. They're shared by every human regardless of age, gender, or race.
Pitchfork used to be the biggest independent online music magazine in the world. Well, not anymore. Publishing powerhouse Condé Nast, owner of several media properties, including Wired, GQ, and The New Yorker, is buying Pitchfork Media, the company behind influential music website Pitchfork. The acquisition was initially reported by The New York Times, and the terms of the deal weren't disclosed. The company, founded in 1995 by Ryan Schreiber, includes more than its website and its infamous 10.0 album review scale. At the peak of its influence, the site could make or break indie artists with a good or bad review. Times have changed. We give you the new Pitchfork 4.6. And if the current crop of smartwatches fails to impress you, why not build your own? The world's first modular smartwatch, made by Block's Wearables, is heading to Kickstarter after 18 months in development. Since participating in Intel's Make It Wearable Challenge in 2014, the Block timepiece consists of a simple round watch face that serves as the core module, to which owners can clip in a set of additional modules. The rest of the watch can then be pieced together to suit the individual owner's preferences or needs. Here's Block's impressive Kickstarter video, prepared to be, well, impressed.
Are we really all going to end up wearing the same watch as well? It's not only the style of your smartwatch that matters, but what you could use it for. Other platforms make you choose what's right for everyone, but not what's right for you. This is Blocks. This is not just any smartwatch. This is the world's first modular smartwatch. You can customize its functionality to suit your lifestyle. Blocks is made from two key parts. The core, which has all the features you would expect from a smartwatch, such as notifications, activity tracking, and voice control, and the module. And the module can be just about anything.
But ultimately, Blocks is about making your life better by letting you build a smartwatch that's personal to you.
And the 21st of October is upon us. That's the exact day Marty McFly comes into Back to the Future 2. And the internet can't stop celebrating and preparing for Marty's arrival. And the Cubs winning the World Series, I might add. Here's a remix made by Electronic Method, especially for the occasion. It's party time.
All right, guys, listen to the blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
And that's all the time we have for on the latest edition of The Tube. Be sure to join us tomorrow and check us out on our website, i24news.tv. Now make like a tree and get out of here. Bye-bye.